Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You are listening to episode 217. I'm Victoria Gallagher, psych. I'm Jim Kellner. I am the
sore
co-host.
throat today.
Exactly. Very sore throat. I'm Jim Kellner, comedy hypnotist Jim Kellner, co-hosting once again for Victoria Gallagher's amazing show. Now, you know Victoria. She's the law of attraction hypnotist. She's the #1 best-selling author, The Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. She's the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores as soon as you're done listening to this episode. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello, Jim. How are you? I'm
Great. How are you doing today?
doing pretty good, I guess. I don't like to complain. I don't like to put out any kind of negative energy, but I like today is just a little bit of a what we call a nudgy day. A little nudgy day. And it's
Nudgy
about and that it's like people that I just not living up to my expectations of doing what they say they're gonna do. And my designer, we're working on this new design for the app, which by the time you listen to this episode, maybe I might even already have pretty well close to launch this app, hopefully.
Nice. Yeah.
But right now, as of today that we're actually recording this, we're in the design phase. We're redesigning and just really feeling like, people just, we were supposed to have a meeting this morning at 8 or 9 this morning and kind of waited. And then I hear back and I hear like, oh, sorry, I overslept. And it's just like, why do people just get away with that? But then I kind of thought, I was literally just having this conversation with myself. Well, one of the reasons why I am a little bit off track with that is I slept in a little bit this morning. I was thinking about how, you and I were having a little conversation about our manifesting techniques and working on our journalings and stuff like that. And I remembered, I'm right now in the process of doing the It Works manifesting technique. And I was good for a few days. And then this morning, I just needed to rush through my meditation so I could get downstairs and be ready for this meeting. I didn't get up quite as early. My cat was just, keeping me company. And sometimes it's just hard to get out of bed when the cat is just so cozy, like, oh,
Sure.
Let's just sleep here for a little longer. And that's not really like me. But here's the thing about that. So I didn't do my homework this morning. I didn't do my It Worked homework this morning. And I was just about to call you out on it, but I was like, hey, I didn't do that. And the interesting thing about that is, isn't it interesting how I slept in and the person that I was counting on to do something, and I'm all, judgy jugster about the fact that she's sleeping in, but you know what? I slept in this morning. So sometimes I think we call these things into our awareness because we're doing them. We set the context. We set the pace for this stuff.
It's interesting.
What do you think about that?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, possibly. I just gotta, if I'm thinking back, I just want to give, I just want to give some advice to people who are working for other people. Don't say you overslept. say you lost a limb, or that your mom's in the hospital, or I mean, I love honesty, but really that's not a good way to keep your job. If it were me, I mean, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at it that way, that you kind of set the stage for it. So
like we hold the context for what we expect from others. I think, like when, because I expect a lot out of myself, so therefore I expect a lot out of others. But if I am, if, ultimately, I think when I do what I expect of others to do, then I'm in a much higher place of integrity to expect that. Whereas if I'm not doing the thing that I'm expecting others to do, then, I'm kind of setting the context there.
That part I really resonate with, and it comes out in working with clients sometimes. When you're working
Hmm.
with a client and you're talking about whatever it is that it's a little harder. In fact, I saw a study that was done. So overweight doctors were less inclined to talk about their patients
Uh-huh.
about weight loss.
Hmm.
And so that was just one example. I don't remember what it was, but it was a pretty high number. Um, but yeah, I can see how, like, if we're not walking the walk, it's hard to kind of have the kind of integrity and expecting other people to walk the walk.
Yeah. So how long have you been smoking for?
Right.
You,
Exactly. 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 I met a hypnotist one time that was like, oh yeah, I used to do these seminars in Australia or something. And I would stand outside smoking and people would catch me and they'd say, well, why are you smoking? Say, because I don't want to quit. I was like, I don't know. That's kind of a silly excuse. I think we do
yeah.
have to, if we really want to, I think if we really want to help others, being a good example is one of the best ways to do that.
I agree. So I'm going to ask you, and do a little coaching check-in with your 555 homework, because we were talking about that. I think on the last episode, or one of the more recent episodes, we talked about these manifesting techniques of 555. And, I know behind the scenes we talked and you said that you thought that I was so wimpy because I was telling you how easy, how easy it is for your hand to get tired when you're doing that. But you found out.
I remember thinking that. I was like, I can't believe, like, the 55. I mean, what's the big deal? Have it done in 15 minutes. It'd be easy. And by about number 7 or number 8, I was going, oh, this stinks. I don't like this.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world. And you know what? There's a more advanced one that I'm actually considering doing.
Oh boy.
Just take any guess what it is.
Oh
We're
my
gonna
God.
skip over the 666 technique because I don't know about
Ooh,
that.
that
But
sounds shady to me.
right. But there is a 7 by 77 technique.
Oh Lord. Wow.
Yeah. So like you're actually increasing the number of days, and you're increasing the number 20 by 22. I mean, that's going to take you 2 hours a day to do that.
Wow. Yeah.
You got to have
I
some
think
serious commitment.
Yeah, I think the 55 is enough for me. And you know what? And I was, as we were talking about earlier, before we got on the air, I actually dropped the ball a couple times now. And I'm, the problem is I know me, and I know when there are things that I have to get done, they have to be done first thing in the morning, because otherwise it may not get done.
Yeah.
And so I did really well. I did it the one day. I was all fired up. The next day, I couldn't quite get to it in the morning. And the next thing you know, it's the next day. And I go, oh, now I got to start all over again. I did 2 days and then missed again. So now I got to make it. Now I don't even, and now I didn't do it this morning. So I probably won't do it today. So it's got to happen tomorrow morning. It's like distractions get in the way. And it's like I have to get up earlier or something, because I just, boy, it just throws my whole day off if I don't do it first thing in the morning.
Doesn't it actually almost the fact that it's difficult to do this, like it's much more difficult to do things like this than it sounds like that,
Oh, yeah.
doesn't it then also stand to reason and make sense that, you know, um, the fact of the matter is most people don't follow through on this. Most people just
Absolutely.
don't follow through. And the ones that do follow through, and it's not a knock on you, or it's not a knock on me or anybody else, but those who do follow through are the ones that get results.
And it would be easy for me to just give up and then go, oh, that doesn't really work. And we all know people like that. Like I've had, people that they'll tell me, well, hypnosis doesn't work. And I say, well, how do you know? And they said, well, I had a session one time,
Mhm.
like, uh, well, did you really give it a fair shot? I mean, do you go to the gym one time and go, I'm not buff, so you quit? Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And there's, a couple of things about this too. I wanted to just say, so number one, I don't, I have to relearn how to go in cursive. I've gotten in the habit of just printing.
Mhm.
And my penmanship is just awful because I never write anything. And my wife makes fun of me all the time anyway. And it was just horrible. Um, but the interesting thing is while I was doing it, I kind of, after a while, after, about 10 or 20 sentences, you no longer have to really think about what you're writing. And I'm starting to get into the moment of the class. And I'm kind of imagining myself in the class and I'm seeing the students and I'm, all these things. So it's like I'm in that moment. So I can see how energetically this could really shift things if
Yeah.
I stick with
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. Well, and ideas come to you. Today we're going to talk about
Yeah.
the super conscious, and ideas start coming to you because you're so, ultimate, ultra, I couldn't think of the word, ultra focused on this. And, that's one of the things that, I preach about is just being ultra focused. And so many people I've really learned, that's one of the things I actually have noticed a pattern with a lot of my coaching clients is this consistency is scheduling time for themselves to do this work and scheduling time to be ultra focused on whatever their business is and really just having that consistency without all the distraction. I've just noticed like productivity and being focused and being efficient and being consistent. Like these are the things that if you can master being ultra productive and consistent with doing what you say you're going to do every day, then you can master manifesting because that's really all it is.
And it's kind of like, I think we talked about before, like my cousin, who ever since he was a kid, he wanted to be a radio DJ. And what do you know, 25 years later, he was, from babyhood. Really, it's almost like you almost can't not be successful in whatever you're trying. If you really are focused on it, you're taking some action, every day or 5 days a week, 4 days a week, something like that, spending some time on it. You almost, it would be harder for you to fail at it than to succeed, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the other problem is I think people focus on too many things, which isn't really
Mm,
focusing.
you're right. You're right. You're right.
There's a lot of things, and I'm guilty of that too. I have so many things: writing a book, doing this app, doing my class, doing my manifesting challenge, doing this podcast. You name it. Yeah, I think I listed, the top 5 things I'm working on, but there's still other things. And so
Mhm.
I know for me, I've got to cut some things out. I'm kind of to the point where, and I thought that I cut things out, but I can see that I still haven't.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's something that's come to my mind. I think it's going to come down to like literally the only thing I want to focus on for the rest of my life is just going to be making great hypnosis sessions in my app and and just um let everything else go. Let everything else go because that's
I can
that's what
relate.
that's what I love doing the most. That's what I started off doing, but then I
Mhm.
spread my wings and I decided, oh, I want to be a public speaker and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And and I was just have to ask myself if if doing all those things is really really the thing that I really want to do. So I'm just in a little bit of a transition on kind of figuring all that out, but I know for sure the app will definitely be the number one focus for sure.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to, getting to a point where I've let go of a lot of stuff, but there's still way too many. I'm talking to somebody today about being an assistant, I'd like to have an assistant that would manage, maybe another assistant that,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
doing the other stuff, because, I wrote down, really, there's only about 5 things I really, really want to do. And that's like, you know, write, create content. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I want to create content, do shows and events, and eventually really just write books and create programs, things like that. So
Yeah. We're kind
I
of
can
in the
relate.
same
Yeah.
vibe there. Definitely in the
Yeah.
same vibe.
So you talked earlier about this, we always talk about the subconscious mind. Can you tell us about this superconscious mind where, well, I'm not even going to even try. Just go ahead and tell me what do you mean by that?
So yeah, and some people have heard of the super conscious, and some people are like, what is a super conscious?
Yeah.
The way I like to describe it is we ultimately have 3 levels of mind. We have our conscious mind, which we all know that's like on the surface. It's just what we're present to. That's what we're thinking about right now. That's what we use for our logic, our reason. Then we have our subconscious mind, which is what most people are familiar with as the most powerful part of our mind. It's the biggest part of our mind. It's basically 90, 95. Some people it might even say 99% of our mind. It might even be
Mm,
more than that.
mhm,
And that part of our mind ultimately is where all of our beliefs, our habits, our emotions are stored, our memories. It runs our whole body, our heartbeat, our brain. Everything is run from this powerful subconscious mind. But then there's this whole other realm which I like to refer to, and it's called by many names, the super conscious.
mm,
And Napoleon Hill alludes to the superconscious mind in Think and Grow Rich. He refers to it as infinite intelligence, and so it's known by many names, like the universal one mind. And so the way I like to explain it is what connects us all. It is the space between everything. It's where all of our minds are connected. And it's where all the ideas are formed. It's what we tap into when we refer to like our creative genius. Like, if you think about it, like how you get an idea that just pops into your head, like where does that come from? It didn't
yeah.
come from inside of you. It came from like they might call it the ethers.
Mhm.
And so it's a really high level of mind that we all ultimately can access. It's where psychics where they pull their information. Now some of them are pulling it from their own personal experience, but some people who are like kind of the real deal, I think they're pulling it from a greater power that really connects us all. So that is essentially, and some people might even refer to the super conscious mind as God. And if you don't want to
Oh,
get religious, it might, that it's like this all knowing, all powerful, the one mind.
so how do we, because you mentioned psychics, and so my ears kind of perk up a little bit. So
Yeah.
how do you really know there's a super conscious,
How do I know?
or is it
So the
just
way,
belief?
yeah. So
Go ahead.
well, I think it is a belief. But I do think that, like, because like, haven't you ever had that experience where you have been thinking about somebody and then all of a sudden the phone rings and that it's that
Yeah,
person?
sure.
And, like, and then we've had that experience where, um, we just get, I'm distracted because my cat it keeps like meowing like crazy in
Ah.
the background. But we have those synchronicities and those things that just kind of happen because we've put something out there and it's like, whoa, I just was thinking about that, and then boom, and then it just happened. And so we're able to, I think, tap into this creative power, this, this psychic energy. And, I don't know if that kind of helps explain it a little bit, but I think you have to kind of believe that there is a higher source of energy. There is a place where we receive those answers. We receive that intelligence.
Hmm. So, I think I understand what you mean. And I definitely experienced that. I also had this experience where, like you think you have a great idea that no one else in the world has thought of, and you find out that, it's already been patented and trademarked and all that stuff. And you
Oh
think, oh,
my
how could somebody
God.
even think of that?
I
Right?
know. I know. It's funny. Like I feel like that's another proof, that it really does exist. Because, like, where did you come up with that idea if you've
Mm-hmm.
never actually seen it before? And that used to happen to me all the time, and I think we have more access to this when we're kids. I mean, have you ever noticed, like, kids, they have their little imaginary friends, but
Yeah.
are they really, like, where is that imaginary friend, like, really coming from? Maybe it's something other than an imaginary friend. And, sometimes I used to get the best ideas for, like, these inventions when I was much younger, like back when I was a teenager. I thought I invented something that would go on your wind visor on your car that you could see through, and that would help you to block out the sun a little bit better. And I mean, I thought about this when I was maybe 18 or 19, and I've never seen anything like that before. Ever. I'd never, ever seen anything. I mean, I still was only 18, 19. I hadn't been driving that long, but
Yeah.
still, like, I just had never even thought of anything like that. And instantly, within like a week or two after coming up with my invention, there it
Right.
was on somebody else's car. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I invented that. And that used to happen to me all the time. Like, I thought about, like, because I used to go to the beach a lot. I was living in LA, and I thought about this really cool thing that could organize all your stuff and your towel and your water bottles and your suntan lotion. And I came up with this great idea for how to organize all that stuff. Never seen anything like that before in my life. And, hold your sunglasses, hold all those things. And then again, same thing. A couple weeks later, there it was. There it was. And that still happens. It's like, I'm thinking about something and they're like, oh, there it is on Shark Tank. Somebody else has already come up with that. You search the internet high and low, and it's like, it's not even there. But then boom, like 2 weeks later, somebody has created that. And so where did I get that information from? Somebody. And so I feel like everyone's minds are joined at some level, and that information. So when you put forth energy out into the universe, you're sending a signal that sort of kind of recalls that information back to you and brings that information to you and brings you ideas and insights. And I mean, where do you think Elon Musk, gets his ideas for going out into space and how to do that? I mean, all the great inventors, I believe they tap into this super conscious.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know I've read, I've read of a couple of them that do mention that, just kind of this, there's something in the ether, they used to call back in the old timey days, I think.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of being able to tap into the superconscious mind? I mean, ideas, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many. I mean, but the biggest one is just to be able to discover you can discover new skills, you can discover you can use that to solve your problem. I was literally just listening to this really great old timey Earl Nightingale
Mm.
thing, and he talked about how to solve a problem. And I loved his explanation on this. So he's like, everybody has problems. And the first step is really to know that all problems can be solved. Now you may not have the information inside of you, not in your conscious, not in your subconscious, but the problem is able to be solved. All problems can be solved. And that was the first step. The second step was to really define the problem.
Mhm.
And I think to really define the problem means, that you've got to like almost like, you've really got to dissect this problem and really break it down into all the, just all the steps that might be involved in this problem. So you just really define it. You really figure out like what's getting in my way of creating this, right? And then every day you think about the problem, but you think about it in a hopeful, positive, expectant way that basically is saying, that, uh-oh, so what, did
Go
something
ahead.
happen?
Finish your thought.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
A hopeful, expectant way that the problem has been resolved. And as you do that, to me, that is one of the examples. That's one of the ways that you're actually speaking to the super conscious, and the super conscious will respond back to you with the answer to your problem.
And the reason I'm this, because mind blown. I mean, isn't this the opposite way that most of us go about solving a problem?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm never going to find the solution. Oh, I don't know what to do. How can I, who can fix this for me? What can possibly be done? It's hopeless.
exactly. Exactly. We, instead of thinking about it in a hopeful, optimistic, positive way, most people are thinking about it through frustration, through doubt, through worry, through anger, through um, resentment, through all the negative emotions. And
Mhm.
all that does is just adds more fear, doubt, negativity, and worry. And then you're just going to call more of that. I mean, and because I do believe the universe is super conscious, also, it kind of responds to your vibe. It kind of responds on a frequency. It's not even so much that it's like the very, very thought that you're thinking, but a lot of it is like the energy, the vibration, the frequency that you're putting out there. And so, when you're in a higher vibe, you're just going to be much more receptive to receiving and tapping into the creativity that's all around you, and all of the information that's flowing all around you. It's there. Like we just have this reservoir of this infinite intelligence that's there. It's all, we can all tap into it, the super conscious. And so that's just one of the benefits, is just that we have access to everything that we could ever possibly imagine. We've got access to it, if we believe in it, and if we work at it, and if we're consistent at it, and if we give it the right vibe and the right direction and information that we want.
Hmm. Yeah, this is really it's astonishing when I think about this, because I don't know that I've ever approached a problem like that. It's like lay awake at night worrying about it. What am I going to do? How can I, is this hopeless? And now this, well, at least you'll feel better about it if you're looking at it, hopefully.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So how do we get into the super conscious? How do we access it? Get there? What do we got to do?
Yes. So what do we do? What do we do? So, the exercises that you and I have been working on, I think, is one way. Like the writing and journaling about something every day, because as you're journaling about it and you're saying, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm creating. You don't have to know how you're creating that, but what that's going to do is it's going to start to convince the subconscious mind. So I believe that this, and it's very much in line with what Think and Grow Rich talks about. The superconscious mind is really accessed through the subconscious mind. So meaning that you've got to convince the subconscious mind. It's like, that's the first level of, you've got to convince yourself consciously. Then you've got to like go to the the manager of it all. It's like, look, I've got this great idea. And like the subconscious mind kind of like, well, it doesn't believe you yet, right? Until the subconscious mind believes you and feels it, then and only then is it going to like, okay, I'm going to send this information out to, the gods, the heavens, the ethers, the superconscious mind, and the all knowing, and get this done for you. And I think that that's ultimately how the subconscious mind connects us to all of the information that we need in order to make that happen. Because it's like, it's got to be. I mean, it's that information, unless somebody very specifically tells us how to do that, and that could be another way that the superconscious mind is bringing us back that information, is through another person, or maybe through seeing it on an ad on television or a billboard, or just something that you read in a book one day, or something you happen to browse on your computer. That information could come that way, or it could just be injected right into your thoughts. But the more you focus on it, the more you focus on what it is that you want, whether that's through writing, whether that's through visualizing, and focusing on it with positive expectancy. You got to expect it to happen. That's, kind of same thing as saying that you believe it. You've got to expect it to happen. When you expect it to happen, it can't not happen. And so tapping into that positive expectancy through writing, through visualizing, through meditating. There's so many different meditation techniques that you can use to help you to tap into the superconscious mind.
It's going to sound like a plug for the app, but it's not. But do you have any sessions in there for that?
You know what? And we weren't even going to discuss this. But yes, I actually do have one. It is called like Accessing the Superconscious Mind. But I also have, and I can't wait to get back into content writing, because I have so many exciting new ways since, the last thing was ever uploaded to my app. But I think I have one called like Infinite Possibilities. And I have a lot in there that like really helps you to like, tap into universal creativity. And, so all of these, so I've got some really, really great meditation techniques. Problem Solving Lab is another one that, it's a really cool visualization that, where you create this laboratory in your mind, because so much of it, like the visualization techniques, are just sort of a way, it's like just the same way that I think people use to talk to their higher power, talk to spirit guides. You've got these images in your mind. And I think also talking to spirit guides, I do have a spirit guide technique inside my app as well. So talking to spirit, do you believe in spirit guides? Do you believe?
I believe in the possibility of there are things in the universe that I don't quite understand.
Yeah, and you know what, me too. I mean, you know what, we should all come from that place that there are still things that we have yet to learn, because there's still things that I have yet to learn or understand about. And my interpretation, like when I was many years ago, I was working with spirit guides, and then I don't know, we broke up, and and I haven't really been talking to spirit guides for a long, long, long time. But back when I was writing these sessions, I was having really cool experiences. But, just like with life, you get distracted and sort of forget about that relationship. And even though I was getting really great results with it, but yeah. So to answer your question, lots of meditation techniques and hypnosis techniques in the app that can help you to tap into that.
Well, one of the things that I always remind myself of, and I used to teach massage therapy, and there was some woo-woo stuff in there too,
Uh-huh.
some energetic stuff. And, I don't remember exactly when, scientists discovered microwaves, the actual waves, those microwaves that travel through, they were always there. We just didn't have a way to harness them. And now we can cook a burrito in a microwave. So just because we can't quantify something right now, we can't measure it, we can't see it or whatever, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It could just be that we haven't figured out how to, scientifically show that it exists.
Right. Well, it's kind of the same thing if you really think about it. It's like, how do you know your thoughts exist?
Whoa.
You can't see them. Like, how do I know you're thinking? Prove it to me.
Exactly.
How do I know? How do I know you have a feeling? Prove it to me. How do I know that air exists? How do we know that energy exists? How do we know that electricity exists? Like, how did we get to be able to turn on these lights? How do we know, like, how does somebody sit in a radio studio and be able to listen to the radio live? Same thing with the television. Like, how does that transmit these frequencies? How do we know that these frequencies exist? There's so many things around us that we don't understand how they work, but we know that they're there. And I think the same thing is true with all the powers of our mind. I mean, think about it. Like, you and I are having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
But like, how are we even able to do this? I mean, when you really think about, we both just have these organs in our, in our heads, and they're just firing in weird ways, and the little electrical pulses, and things are firing, and and somehow or another that comes out as a word and a conversation that we're able to have. But really, it's just all these little electrical pulses that are going on in our brains. I mean, it's astonishing how powerful the stuff is when you really think about what's going on. It's just a brain and a heart and the cells, and when you really dive in, you think what's going on inside these bodies. It's a miracle that we're even here.
It really is. And, I was thinking about that, as far as that super conscious thing, I was thinking about, I'm sure you've had this happen, but many times I'll be working with a client. We get done with the hypnosis session and they go, how did you know about blah, blah, blah? Or, boy, when you said that one thing, I had already been thinking something it was so connected. It was like they think that you're psychic somehow, they're like, how did you know that? Or how'd that come out?
And you are psychic. You just don't know it. I truly believe we all have that kind of psychic energy. And yeah, I mean, we did these really interesting experiments in this seminar that I used to, I used to go. I don't go anymore because it's in Vegas, and I live here now. But we would sit down and with a partner, and the partner would have somebody in their mind that had some sort of an ailment. And so we would tap in, and we would basically, the only thing that they would tell us is their name and their age and maybe where they lived. I think they gave us 3 pieces of information. So we would both close our eyes, and then we would describe the person and what they looked like. And they wouldn't even say what was wrong with them, but we would describe what they looked like. And then we would go in and we would do what they called casework. And we would go in and we would examine, we'd look at their head, we'd look inside their, and then, you would pick up on, oh, there's something going on with their heart. And then, so you would be explaining all of this out loud while the person, the presenting person would just be writing things down. And then you would just do kind of like a little energetic healing, almost like the practice of Reiki, or, just sending healing energy. But you would do it in a really childlike way where you're like, okay, well, I'm taking bubble gum and I'm, putting it over the heart and whatever it was. And then we'd open our eyes and the person would just, be mesmerized. Like, wow, like you described this person almost, and yeah, they are having that problem. And after we would finish that exercise, then there would be a big group discussion about it. And they'd ask, this is like 100 or so people in the room. It's like, stand up if the person was like, 90% on, right on with your, and so people would just stand up and they would all share their stories about how close they were to, describing exactly that person to the T. It's like, how did they know that? How did they know that? All that person was doing. And I was watching something, a video or something. Now I can't even remember what it was, but it was just, it was talking about how like this child or somebody would know what somebody was thinking about to say, just by that person holding an image. Oh yeah, it was, I can't remember his name, but it's like the Jose Silva technique. And yeah, and he actually, Jose Silva, they do a lot of this kind of work in there as well. It's just so amazing that if we did this, if we lived like this, if we really dove in and practiced this kind of work, we would get good at it. And those who do practice it on a daily basis, I do believe they are good at it. And we just never know just how much potential we really, really have to tap into until we try.
And so we can use it to manifest stuff then too, right?
Absolutely.
Tapping into the ether, the superconscious.
Absolutely. And that's kind of like my whole point. Like again, I'm all about the practical part of manifesting. This one part, the super conscious, like that's the one part where, it's not as practical. You don't have as much control over when and how you're going to get this information to come to you. But I do believe that even if you can't wrap your mind around the whole notion that this information is coming to you from this place that's outside of you, that's outside beyond your own mind, that at least you could buy into, well, your subconscious mind is much more powerful than we could ever know. And so you don't even necessarily have to, I just believe that the subconscious mind is in cahoots with a much higher level of mind, and it's that super conscious mind. That's where it goes to get things done, because the subconscious mind, it's personal, it's yours, it's inside of you. But the super conscious, it's everyone's, and it's everyone's mind. And so we're all connected to it. And whatever you want to manifest is available to you, because every problem can be solved. And every problem has a solution and an answer. And so if you present it as like you present whatever it is that you want to manifest to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind presents that to the super conscious, you're going to get the answer. And it's not going to just be it's not going to pop up like a physical thing just suddenly there in your environment. You're going to have to do something about it. You're going to have to take action on whatever information gets presented to you. You don't just you don't just have an idea to write a book. You got to actually type the words, and you got to take all the steps to write it, get it produced, and get people to buy it. And, it's the same with anything. Ultimately, everything really does kind of require some sort of, I do believe everything kind of requires an action. For the most part, I guess, I mean, there are some super manifestors out there that they say that you don't even need to take any action. I haven't evolved to that level yet, to where my manifestations just appear. I don't know if that I necessarily buy into that, but like you said earlier, that we can all learn, and we're all work in progress, and there's always more to know than we could possibly know right now. So you never know.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, I've known a couple of people that had this thought they could just wizard things up. They just meditated long enough. It would just pop into existence. It didn't, they never proved it, but I guess they keep doing it. Maybe.
Maybe. I doubt it, but I mean, well, I doubt that for now in my small level of thinking.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to go down that road. There was, we'll talk about it another time, probably, maybe, but a little bit off. We'll talk about it another time. And I'm going to make a note of it. But so meditation, hypnosis, are these the ways that we do this? We access it. We start manifesting from up above.
Absolutely. So, going into meditation every day and just asking, I would say sometimes just even putting yourself into a silent meditation, and bringing your intention. Like, my intention is to get the first step that I need to take in order to bring this about. What do I need to know about this? And then you just literally sit with that and allow ideas to flow into your mind. And that, again, that some of those may come from some of the reservoir of what's already there in your subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind, it remembers everything. And so there may have been conversations, television programs, books that you've read, that it's going to scan through all that information and help you to, or if it's not in your own reservoir, then it's going to tap into higher levels that somebody out there has that information. And then another way that you can do that, another technique, is literally think about that other person who has already achieved that. Literally go and into their genius mind, and and be them, and think how they think, and try their head on, and switch places with them, and like see life the way that they see it. And that's just another way that you can kind of borrow their genius, and like literally just tap into the way that person thinks and sees things. And that's just a way that you can allow that information to flow into your own mind.
That is one of my favorite techniques to use with clients. Modeling, pick out somebody that's successful at this, and used it myself. I mean, really, it's so powerful. Really,
it really is. It really is. And yeah, so I believe modeling in a lot of ways is, in a way, it's tapping into the super conscious mind. because like, how do you know that that person thinks that way?
Right. Yeah.
And, it could be just a guess, but I think more often than not, we actually are able to kind of read, read other people's minds.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to, I mean, I think pretty much every client I've ever used it with has just been so thrilled by the progress, by just that one technique all
I
alone.
had
So
I had an interesting situation happen.
yeah.
So I'm whispering like as if, it makes any difference at
They're
all.
listening.
But the other night, my husband and I got into one of those stupid arguments where we went to bed mad and slept in
Mhm.
separate rooms and everything.
Wow. Mhm.
And I don't know if you ever had one of those, but anyway,
Couple.
anyways, so I was demanding an apology before we would speak
Mm.
again, and that rarely ever works. Okay. It has worked, but it
Uh,
rarely ever works. So I did this little meditation before I went to sleep where
mm,
I just visualized waking up in the morning to an apology.
mm,
And I just visualized, I did it for about 10 minutes. It was just this 10-minute little conversation that I was having with him in my mind. And and just and he's like literally downstairs, I'm upstairs,
mhm.
so there's like no way. And I woke up in the morning to a very long-winded text message of apology. um
Wow.
and I mean, so I was able to transmit maybe, some
Right.
information from my mind into his, and then boom, I'll never know if he came up with it on his own or if he listened to my little meditation and that I was literally thinking in my mind. But there you
Mhm.
go. I mean, it's like, I feel like that was a serious, I mean, like to get this really over the top 2-paragraph long apology from him, like it was kind of unheard of that he would.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
yeah.
Nice.
I was pretty happy. I was like, wow. Now what else should I do this on?
Right. Exactly. I was just thinking. So we've just barely kind of scratched the surface of the super conscious.
Yes.
Really, there's got to be a lot more to it. Is there some place that we can go to get some more information about it?
Definitely I talk about this a little bit in my book, Practical Law of Attraction. I do dive into that. And then of course, just the app has plenty of sessions on it right now. If we hadn't already had, I believe by this episode, we've already done the Law of Attraction Intensive.
Mm.
So that would definitely be a place we do some really, really cool things in there. But I think by now that's already happened. And so download the app, buy the book, and I think you're going to be well on your way between those two powerful resources to learning how to tap into the super conscious mind. I should create a course on that. And here I am. I just literally said, at the beginning of this episode, I've got too much on my plate, but you see what happens.
Yeah, you were tapped into the ether.
Yes, definitely.
So valuable to learn more about people because your spouse will apologize to you readily, quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, tap into that super conscious.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
Thank
Do you want
you.
to take us out of here?
Yes, definitely. Well, first of all, do you have anything happening for the rest of this year that you want to tell people about?
I'll be at the Michigan Hypnosis Conference in October. Love to
In
see
October. Cool.
everybody out there. It's a brand new conference.
Oh
Hey,
yeah, I Dan Goyette, I
yeah.
think is the yes, yes, yes,
Yep.
yes. Yeah, I kind of skipped that one, trying to minimize, my
Right.
obligations a little bit. So we'll definitely go if you're listening to this and you're a hypnotist, and you're planning to go to that, definitely go check out Jim. And Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today and listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. We are always helping you to grow and inspire you and learn how to manifest things, manifest anything that you want to manifest in your life, learn about law of attraction, learning about affirmations, learn about all these cool tools and techniques. Definitely pop me an email. Let me know how you're enjoying the show and what you'd like to learn about next, because, the sky is the limit. I would love to talk to you about any type of topic that you want help in pursuing, that is on the lines of personal growth and and hypnosis. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Power of Your Mind podcast, and we will see you next week.